One of the first things you learn about safe tool use when you're doing a forest school qualification or similar is the importance of having secure storage. This allows you to restrict access to those edge tools to those that you are either supervising or you have deemed are mature and confident and capable enough to be able to use them. Additionally, having a secure place for your tools, particularly when you're transporting them from A to B, is really important, because legally you should, when carrying edge weapons about, they should be in an inaccessible place and secure place so that you can't get easy access to them. So this is when we're moving either stuff in a car or a van, moving things to and from a site, you want those to be in secure storage. For me, the main criteria that I have for my tool storage is, first of all, it needs to be secure, so it needs to be lockable in some way. Second is that it needs to be portable. A lot of big toolboxes just aren't practical or portable for longer distances, particularly important if you have a pop-up forest school. And thirdly, it needs to be durable. It needs to stand up to the everyday rigors of life in the woods. In this video, we're going to take a look at my system of toolboxes and bags for different edge tools, from axes through to knives, through to saws and drills, and discuss pros and cons and my particular approach to tool storage and transportation. If there's something you're interested in, then keep watching. I'll see you in a mo. So the system is broken down into several different kits. Now, I won't necessarily bring all of them to every session. Some I might do, others I might only have one or two of these pieces of equipment. And it's all grouped together according to what I use the most and also what presents the most danger as to which box or bag the tools will go into. So one thing that comes with me everywhere is my Bushcraft bag. I have a previous video on this, which I'll link up in the top and in the description. And this has the simple stuff. So it has all of my personal kit. So in here, I will also have a spare knife, a saw, and my personal knife. And so that'll come to me with every session. So I always have a knife and a saw handy, because even if you have a particular plan for a forest school session, you may well see a branch that needs to come down, or a child wants to have a certain thing, wants to carve a certain piece of wood, and it might be someone who doesn't usually take an interest in carving, and you want to make the most of that opportunity. So just having one knife and saw available is really handy. So I have that in my bag here, and then I have a little padlock on that. So that gets padlocked shut whenever I'm traveling around, and then during a session, unless I need stuff out of here, it will stay locked like that. So that'll come with me every session, so there'll be a knife and a saw there. Then we have my knife and saw box. This is where I store the majority of the knives and saws. So it is a smaller toolbox, so I can easily carry it around. It just has a selection of basic Mora knives, folding saws, there's some hacksaws, there's some scissors, I've got some spoon carving knives and so on right at the bottom. So this is probably one of the more hazardous kits. So there's a lot of sharp knives in here, so this will tend to only come out with me if I'm doing an activity that specifically involves carving. So this is an occasional, it's a couple of times a month, this will come out with me when I'm doing a whole session group. If one or two children just want to do a bit of carving, then I have the spare knife in the bag here, and that will do just fine, because I don't want to carry the whole box in if I'm only going to need one knife out of it. And that's just in a generic toolbox. It's got a small one. As I say, this needs to be compact and portable, so this one will sit quite nicely in the cart. Carry it with one hand, it's not too bad. Then I have my general tool bag. So the main issue I have with using a toolbox like this for all of my tools is that some of them are just too long and too big to fit into a tool bag, fit into a toolbox easily. You'd have to get a really big toolbox to fit things like drills and particularly, most importantly, bow saws. So bow saws are probably the bit that is the trickiest to put anywhere else. So I usually use this long bag, so it's a Highlander Canvas Bag, and this is where I have my loppers, my saw, my drills, I have drill bits and clamps and all that kind of stuff in there. Now the one disadvantage of this bag is that it doesn't have the ability to lock it shut. So it just uses 3 straps across the top to secure it. So that means that even with best intentions, the stuff in here is still accessible. Which is why I limit the stuff I put in here to stuff that is harder to do any harm. It's not as dangerous. It's not as bad as the knives, not as bad as the axes. So something like a saw, like a drill. Basically, if the child is old enough to be able to work out how to undo the straps and manage to undo enough straps to be able to get the drill out, chances are they know that they are doing something daft if they have a drill, and they would need to find the drill bit and they need to get it in, and it would be a whole long process. And at the end of the day, a drill on its own is not a massively dangerous piece of equipment. Similar with a bow saw. I mean, there are some quite big teeth on there, but the amount of injury that you would actually do to yourself, especially if you're in a forest school session where there is already supervision, so someone's going to notice you taking the bow saw out. Anyway, I said it is relatively low risk. And same thing again for loppers. They keep generally, if you're using loppers, you have to use 2 hands, so that by definition means that your fingers are away from the edges there. Secateurs would go in the main toolbox. Loppers, because they are longer handled and normally wouldn't fit as easily in a toolbox, they go in this bag. This is all of the stuff that I say is less dangerous to have out and can just be strapped shut, and I'm happy and confident with the children that I have during my sessions. If I do have a child that has a particular tendency to rummage through this bag and use it dangerously, then of course I would change my setup. But this is based on the sessions that I run and the children that I run it with. So as I said, main issue with this bag is that it's not as lockable. So that means that is still accessible and you can still access quite readily. Which is why I then bought this, which is a smaller. It's also a Highlander bag, but it has a little D-ring at the end, and with a zip together you can then lock it off. And this is where I put the axes. So along with knives, these are probably the more dangerous pieces of equipment that I have for my sessions. So I use them for splitting wood, use them for spoon carving. So I usually have a good selection of axes in here, but that means I can zip shut and lock it shut and restrict access, because this is something that you can actually do an awful lot of damage to yourself really quickly, as opposed to something like a saw or a drill where you'd really have to try harder. With an axe, simply swinging it in the air is enough to potentially cause yourself a lot of danger. So that's really my basic system for how I organize kits. Said bow saws are really difficult to fit in toolboxes. Toolbox I'd have to get for all of this to fit in would be massive, and it wouldn't fit easily in the trolley. This way I can decide what I'm going to use when. All of the time I will have a bushcraft bag. Most of the time I will have these 2 canvas bags, and then if I'm doing carving specifically, then I'll have the toolbox. And all of these are protected by combination locks, the lockable ones. So combination locks, main advantage is that I can give anyone I trust the combination. So with some of the older children in, say, my bushcraft groups that are over 10s, I trust them an awful lot. They have demonstrated over several months their trustworthiness. So I'll give them the code and I'll tell them exactly what criteria it has. I will still be around, but I'm quite happy for them to go and get tools out of the toolbox and use it safely. Like I said, there's supervision around. I'm happy and comfortable with that. So combination means you don't have to worry about losing a key. You do have to worry about remembering it, but as long as you've got it written down somewhere. This is all about reducing the accessibility. There's no way to completely eliminate accessibility. Say there's still ways around this. If someone was really determined, they could break open, cut open, or get their way into any of these boxes. So these are not theft proof, but they're just designed to help you reduce access to those that you trust and know will work safely with these tools. So there you go. I hope you found that helpful. I will leave links in the description to all of these toolboxes and bags down below, so you can see them for yourself and decide whether it's something that would work well for your settings and for your sessions. Once again, I want to say a big thank you to Wellness Woodlands for making this video possible by allowing me to film on their beautiful site out here. So if you're interested in some wilder camping out towards Highley, Bewdley and the Wyre Forest, then do check out Wellness Woodlands. I'll leave a link to them in the description down below. With that, I say thank you so much for watching. Remember to make the most of every day. I'll see you all next time.